Hey, yo, it's Guido coming at you with a tactics talk. Thanks for tuning in. I do appreciate your support of the channel in whatever format it comes in. We have Poriani, player feature in his M4 Tier 5 American medium tank. And we are going to show you some pretty fantastic medium gameplay. Poriani's going to have a good game, but we'll talk about some of the things he could have potentially done better as we go, as I usually do with my tactics talks. Loaded into Red Shire. And we are headed over to the west side of the map. Not my favorite side on this map. If you ever watched most of my videos, I will head over to the east side or maybe up to the middle. Thing about going over to the castle here is it usually ends up in some kind of stalemate, a little bit of punchy face. But that depends on what the enemy team does. Let's watch it and what goes on this one with Poriani. He's driving over. You can see that he is running the derp and he does not have any paint on his tank, which, come on, man, put some paint on that tank. I'm just kidding. Maybe he's a free-to-play. You never know. Maybe he just feels like he doesn't need it. I'll tell you what, on this game, he's not going to end up needing it. Look at the deployment of his team. They sent nearly nothing over to the west side. That's almost always a recipe for disaster. He's got quite a few tanks, including the sniper KV-2. Oh, it's not a sniper KV-2. The KV-2 is actually YOLO up the middle. Well, that's not going to work very well, is it, folks? He's got a KV-1 coming to his side. He's got a Crusader. The T-67 has taken up residence at A1. He should be useful back there. What do you think? And then the 3 artillery doing what the artillery do. So not a very offensive game plan, and Poriani is going to work around the edges of this. Had he gone over to the west, like Guido said he should have, or like Guido likes to do, probably would have got eaten up by all those tanks over there. So let's see how this works out. One of the things you have to do in this game is just adjust to what is given to you. And he's watching this guy. Little lead fire doesn't quite get him. I don't believe Poriani has 6th sense on this tank. He probably should have been spotted by that guy. And I never see it go off during the game. So he's running at a slight disadvantage there, especially as a medium that's trying to work around the edges of the battle. No 6th sense can be difficult, but we'll see how he deals with it. Now, usually the enemy sends at least somebody over here, but if you take a look at the mini-map, you can see that they have completely overloaded the west side, and his team is looking like it's in big trouble. Poriani decides to keep on pressing to the south, which is not really my favorite decision that he made on this map, because the fight is up in the northeast, and he is essentially driving away from it. There are a couple arties that he could gobble up. And then I will also say this, Poriani, take a look. Make sure when you are driving somewhere that you have good camera technique, and by good camera technique I mean while you're driving forward, take a look at other things that are going on around you, because I think you missed the fact that you could hit this guy. You see how I can light that dude up? You had shots on that T-34, and you may decide not to shoot at him, but you didn't even look over there and investigate the deal. So I think you probably could have taken a shot at the T-34. Derp's not the most fantastically accurate gun, so it's very possible that you would have missed him. But the point remains, camera technique tells me that I look around and I try to gather as much SA during the entirety of the game as I can. So we have got into the backfield. Things aren't looking too... Oh, wait a minute. They're looking pretty bad. We've lost quite a few tanks. People are saying we've lost the game. Have we lost the game? I think I already gave you a clue what's going to happen here. A little foreshadowing early on. And that is what the derp does all day long on the M4 against soft tanks. If it can pen at this tier, it's going to have a good time. Now, he was clearly spotted right there, and I'm very curious why their T-67 didn't start shooting at him, or the other arty didn't, but they must be busy sweeping up the rest of Poriani's team, who is quickly falling right and left, and blop, there goes the T-67. Again, that's what the derp gun does, right through that thin skin. And if it's somebody that's not moving and you can get a nice aim in on them with a fully zoomed firing solution, a lot of times you're going to hit them even at that range with the big derp gun. I say big, but it's relatively big, right? It's not really that big of a derp gun, except at this tier. Nice thing about it is you don't have to worry too much about gold. He doesn't even carry any. Another thing I'll talk about while we got a little lull in the fighting here is the fact that he is running a large repair kit, a large medical kit, and a small repair kit. So he is scoffing the fire extinguisher, which does not hamper him at all in the slightest in this game. So he's kind of being patient, looking for this M4 who's kind of moving around. Puts 147 on him. Too bad he didn't go through the side, but he did lay a good whack on the guy. And the KV-1 is working this dude over, and there he goes. So the team of KV-1 and Poriani are going to become important here right about now. So he sees the T-3045. Now that's a clue bird. The T-3045 came around this way. So what do you think probably happened? When that arty was killed by Poriani, some of those guys that were pushing the cap probably turned around and came back to their cap, and that must be what he's trying to work on right now. Of course, now you've got the SA that they are on our cap, or his cap, and so he's going to head back that way. You see that the M4's got pretty good mobility for a tier 5 medium, not bad at all, quite zippy, so he's just going to head right back, and the KV-1 is wisely doing the same thing. But they've got a long row to hoe here, don't they? Lots of time, that's good. Now if 3 of the enemy dropped onto the cap, it would be a bit of a different story. In fact, Poriani might not even be able to get back there in time, and maybe not even the KV-1, because he's going to just about overtake the KV-1 as he approaches. But the enemy team does not put 3 on, and you can see that the timer is quite long. That is something to think about when you're talking about cap decisions and going back. I would have liked to have seen him go back much earlier, but here he is moving back, and when you look at the time it takes for a single tank to cap, you do have quite a long time, and even a slow tank like the KV-1 can probably get back. But the enemy has other ideas. This is not a bad idea by the KV-1S. He is kind of ambushing these guys and trying to stop them from get to their capper, but that does not work, and he ends up getting the 1-2 punch from the team of Poriani and KV-1, which is Simlikalacal. I don't know what his name is. That's a pretty rookie move. The M4 is driving around in circles on the cap. He'd have done a lot better to go get behind the building or stay stationary or jump in a bush. Driving around on the cap really does nothing. It might make the shot a little more difficult, but it makes you much more visible. Now Poriani, getting quite the offensive mindset, is going to come right up and over the top of this hill, not even waiting for the KV-1, and now he's looking around for any more enemy tanks. Not that excited about this move, right up over the top and out into the open. He's now being looked at by all kinds of tanks, and thank goodness that ARL missed him. The Black Prince tags him. For whatever reason, the ARL is not shooting him. Black Prince bounces, then he gets away from the Black Prince, and holy cow, artillery's raining down, and this ARL wants nothing to do with him and gets hammered by the KV-1. So that is a good deal for Poriani and team. But they've still got quite a few tanks to deal with. There's still a T-3045 raging around somewhere. When I first watched this, I thought he might have gone off to the west, but we'll find him pretty soon, coming up to support his buddies. And of course the artillery is the X factor for both teams here. You just never know which guy it's going to hit, get lucky on, and shred some of the hit points off of. Because guys on the red line should be able to do that, right? Poriani's getting super aggressive. The ARL went looked for him over there, and that was quite a good maneuver for him to go that way while he was still lit, sit there for a second, and then turn around. And that's using mobility on a medium to an advantage. The other guy probably expected him to be on that side. Kind of like the BP just did to Poriani coming around that corner, and he gets hammered a couple times. Those BPs fire extremely quickly. You can see that he's not doing a lot of damage. 117, or sorry, 85, 78. That kind of thing. Just misses right there. But it fires so fast it can quickly machine gun people down. There goes his arty firing into there. He's looking to see if he can't get a shot right on the top, and he misses. Now the BP is no longer stunned. He's back and forth, trying to get at this guy. And he doesn't see him anymore, so he's moving up, see if he can get him lit. Remember, there's still artillery. The 3045 has died, and it's just this BP. Now, if you noticed, right before Poriani went up and over, there was an artillery shot that went in there, and it didn't look like there was an explosion on the ground. So that told me, and I think it told Poriani, that that BP actually took a direct hit, and more than likely shredded enough hit points off of him to make him a one-shot, and he just drove right up and over. Poriani, I would be zigzagging a little bit more right here. Absolutely, because boom. And just barely missed. That was actually pretty cool, right through the explosion. And now he is looking for the grill. 5 kills. Looks like they have tuned up at the end so they can farm badges and awards, which, no offense, but I find cheesy. I actually wish they would remove that. If you platoon up in the middle of or at the end of a match, you really shouldn't get those critical contribution awards and things like that. But it's a small thing, and if people want to collect baubles, that's up to them. Personal problem, I would say. Mine. Okay, so now we're looking for, where is that Artie? We're going to find this guy. Got to be hiding in a corner, right? Trying to drown somewhere. Wait a minute. There we go. And watching the zoom in. Guy is unaware. And we're going to fire and kill that guy. One thing I will do there, Poriani, especially on a very stationary target like that with the HE, I might have just gone auto aim and aimed center of mass on that guy. But what you did was just fine. Obviously, you killed him. Nice job, man. 6 kills. That'd be 12 for the platoon that was lately created. I'll put up the rest of the stats, but an ace tanker and a nice job with the top gun for Poriani and some pretty good M4 medium gameplay. Going to a position, working through to the back, taking out some guys in the backfield and flexing back to the cap, and then securing the win in some close-in brawling. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you learned something. If you did, make sure you subscribe, and we will see you.